Well, hello and welcome to Overdevest Nurseries on a sunny morning in early spring. And as you see, we've moved into the greenhouse here because I want to show you some of the edible plants that we're growing that are going to be turning up in garden centers in the next few weeks. All sorts of really good things for you to be able to grow, enjoy, and of course also to eat. And if you're talking about something that's really good to eat, well, what can you get that's better than tomatoes? And if you're talking about tomatoes, what can be better than these little super sweet varieties of tomatoes? And this particular variety, which is called Super Sweet 100, is absolutely fantastic. As you see, it produces these clusters of little cherry tomatoes that are so proficient that it's amazing that they produce so much fruit. But not only that, they taste like little red balls of sugar with a delightful tomato flavor too. You can keep, as far as I'm concerned, the big beefsteak ones. These are ones that never make it into the kitchen because you can pick them right off the vine and enjoy them. And if you've got children that are coming to visit, then you've got to get them picking these because they will just love to gobble them up. Now, what's interesting is that this variety, Super Sweet 100, is an improved version of the one that was introduced first in 1978 by the Northrop King Seed Company in Minnesota. Created quite a stir at the time, and from then until the present time is highly regarded by everybody who grows tomatoes, simply because the flavor is just so amazing. And this selection has been developed because it's got improved disease resistance to fusarium and verticillium wilt, which sometimes affects some of the other varieties. This one, important, it's resistant to it. And this one is really good, and if you've got a place to grow it at home, then I'd certainly recommend that this one goes down on your wish list. Now, a little word about it to say that it is really easy to grow, not difficult at all, but of course tomatoes love warmth. So you've got to be careful. We're all excited to get out there and get planting our tomatoes, but you've got to wait until the weather warms up. They just do not like cold weather. You've got to have temperatures above 55 degrees really for them to get going. Then what you can do is to take these plants, and as you see, we're growing them in a special pot that is environmentally respectful. This is actually a biodegradable pot made from bamboo and rice hulls, which means that you can plant it directly into the ground. So there's no plastic pot to have to be recycled. You'll also see that the tag comes with a little wooden stake, and that kind of shows really how we grow our crops here, the edible ones, in that everything that we grow at Overdevest is certified by Veriflora, a third-party organization that really just helps to make sure that all the plants that we have grown here come out to say that they've been grown in an environmentally respectful way. Now, the only thing that I want to point out about this variety is that it's quite tall. It grows at least 4 foot high, and maybe more if you get it off to a really good start. So it is important that you put it on either a tomato cage or else perhaps train it up against a sunny wall, perhaps even on a trellis. You can zigzag it back and forward on the trellis, and then there's a couple of little tricks that I want to tell you about growing tomatoes. When you take these plants, and it's warm enough to put outside, now that's important. You can start them indoors if you want to get a start, but really don't plant them out until the weather warms up. Then, when you plant them out, keep them on the dry side. It's important that you get these plants into the fruiting mode fairly early on. If you water them and feed them too early, they'll make lots of lush growth. They will eventually start to flower and then carry fruit, but by tricking them into keeping them a little on the dry side first, don't let them wilt of course, but just keep them on the dry side, you then start to get them to form the first flowers, and then you'll see the first little pea-shaped fruit coming on them, and then that's the time that you can step up the watering and also the liquid feeding too with a tomato fertilizer. So that's what you do. But also then when you're training it, train it up, as I say, a trellis or a tomato cage or something like that, and then try to water them in here at the base of the plant. Don't get moisture on the leaves. That adds to problems. They really don't like a lot of humidity and moisture on the foliage. So when you're watering them, try to water them in the morning, preferably at the base of the plant, and that was a good way to try and keep the foliage from getting a disease. But also the important thing too is to occasionally, when you've got, and these are only little plants, but I'm going to show you anyway, if you've got them growing, go around every now and then and just give them a little shake, because whenever you shake them, that distributes the pollen, it helps them set fruit, and that's how you're going to get lots of these big bumper crops of these super sweet, sugary, oh, just delicious little tomatoes that will look so good in salads and all sorts of things. Always assuming, of course, that they make it into the kitchen. So this is Tomato Super Sweet 100. Definitely one of my top picks when it comes to choosing tomatoes for you to be able to grow at home.